Welcome everyone to another edition of Pitkin County Connections. I'm Mitzi Ledingham. I'm a staff person in Human Services, and I'm really pleased today to have 4 representatives of a brand new program in Pitkin County that is just really cutting edge in terms of helping our community who are experiencing mental health problems. So very happy. We have Jess Beaulieu in the studio who works for Public Health, and she is the Pitkin Area Co-Responders Teams Manager, otherwise known as PACT. That's the program we're going to be discussing today. She's also a mental health program administrator. And next to her we have Lindsay May, who's the director of Mind Springs Health in Aspen, a partner in this program. Andy Atkinson, who's with the Aspen Police Department. And then finally Jordana Sabella, who is the Planning, Prevention, and Partnerships Manager with Pitkin County Public Health. So the PACT program. I think to get started, though, it might be nice to hear a little bit about how Pitkin County is really attempting to provide better services in mental health support. And Jordana, I'm looking at you because a lot of what you do is coordinate community health assessments. You do strategic planning. So you have a big picture of population health, if you will, and mental health being a very important subset of that. Maybe you can share a little bit, paint a picture for our viewers of what is happening in Pitkin County in relation to mental health.
Absolutely, Mitzi. Thanks for having me here today. So we completed a community health assessment where we looked at data and feedback from community members in both Pitkin, Eagle, as well as Garfield counties regionally in 2017. And one of the top health concerns that came back both from the data and what folks were saying was mental health. Mental health was comprised really of lack of access to mental health services, the really high rate of suicide that we have here. In 2017, 7 people just in our county died by suicide, as well as substance use. We know substance use is inextricably linked with mental health and includes all kinds of substances such as alcohol and marijuana. We've got pretty high rates of use here among adults as well as youth. And then especially for youth, vaping has been,
yes, that's new, isn't it?
Has been a new, and very quickly growing issue.
Yeah.
And then the issue of opioids is something that's continuing, that we're continuing to keep an eye on, and is arising as well. So as a region, of the 3 counties, we've really come up with some regional strategies to start to address these different areas of mental health. So we're working together to map the mental health providers.
Oh,
that
very good.
Yeah, that are in all 3 counties to figure out what services are provided, what are the gaps, and how can we work together to try to plug some of those.
Are those individual providers as well as agencies?
Exactly.
Everybody.
The whole gamut.
Okay.
We provided a training on responsible reporting on suicide to both our media outlets as well as to folks in the community, because we know that depending on how you report on suicide, what ends up in the paper, the details that are provided, if you provide links to help and things like that, it can either be very protective for the community, or it can be harmful in causing additional copycat suicide. So we have that information in our community now. We're also really delving into this youth vaping issue with the tobacco program that we have that's also regional. And we're partnering with Aspen Strong on a couple different things. One is a mental health connection campaign. So really thinking about how can you connect better to yourself, how can you connect better to others, and how can you connect to resources that are in the community. A part of that is for us to help build out the mental health provider directory that is on Aspen Strong. So aspenstrong.org, you can click on it, you can check out the campaign, you can check out the directory. It'll tell you about different mental health providers in your area, what specialties they have, whether they accept insurance, and a little bit about them. So those are some of the efforts that we're working on.
Boy, that's awesome. Very comprehensive. And so, moving along then, Jess, you now are involved as the manager of this new program, PACT. Can you share with our viewers what is the program? What does it look like? What are the goals of it? What does it hope to achieve?
Sure, yeah. And thanks, Mitzi, for having me here. We're all really excited about the PACT program because it is pretty cutting edge. It's something, though, that is catching on across the state right now. And it, at its very essence, is a partnership between law enforcement and mental health. Two community services that have historically sort of operated in their own bubbles are now coming together in order to provide the appropriate services for people in our community who need help. It's a grant that the State of Colorado Office of Behavioral Health, there was a RFP that happened about a year ago, request for proposals.
Okay.
Many counties applied for this grant, which lasts over the course of 5 years, and 8 counties were awarded funding to do this. And Pitkin County was chosen as sort of a rural pilot. Many of the current programs that exist are in urban areas, and so they look a little bit different than what they might look like here. So that's the very essence of it. The goal is to change a system that's been sort of fragmented over time. We see people who have some significant mental health issues who are having contacts with law enforcement, who are being sort of recycled through the criminal justice system without necessarily receiving appropriate care and support to meet their needs.
So is that kind of what people might think of as a revolving door, somewhat,
Yes.
a little bit? Like you get in trouble, and but your actual real needs may not be addressed, so then you go out, but then you come back in
Correct.
with law enforcement. So this is an effort to stop that cycle.
And the state numbers are that the vast majority of people who are incarcerated currently in the state of Colorado, and there's a national statistic that correlates with this as well, but the majority have mental health diagnoses. And an even greater number are dealing with substance use disorders in addition to that. So the idea of this program of PACT is to prevent unnecessary incarceration of individuals who really just need some extra support and access to social services.
I'm wondering about, Andy, your take on this from the criminal justice side, the police officer side. Can you share a little bit how you see, as Jess is saying, how you see this will help your work, or how this will change how we serve individuals? Maybe it's time to hear a little detail of what does this actually mean with the two entities working together.
Right. Well, I think it's huge. I think this is incredible, and I think it's going to affect the way we work pretty significantly, honestly.
Oh, that's
great.
Thinking
about the things that Jess was talking about, repeat offenders, people that we're contacting constantly over and over again in the community, and low-level offenders that, we kind of run out of options for as law enforcement.
Can I ask you to describe low-level offenders? So what kind of crimes?
Alcohol-related crimes, crimes related to homelessness, things of that nature.
Stealing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, more your petty type things.
Right.
So I think we've done our best, and, especially in this valley, to respond to that in the best way we know how as law enforcement officers. And unfortunately, a lot of times that puts people in jail, and it gets people wind up with charges.
Right.
And so, speaking to what Jess was saying about the people in and out of the system, and I think this program, where we're looking to take a mental health clinician with us on scene to some of these calls,
Okay.
she can help he or she can help officers, make a better determination as to what some of the root causes could be to some of these behaviors. And maybe work towards getting these people the actual help they need instead of just running through the system over and over again.
Right, right.
So I'm really excited about it, and I know the other agencies are too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it sounds really groundbreaking for Pitkin County, for the whole region, actually.
Absolutely.
And I would like to say too that there are many partners, community leaders,
right.
agencies, and
Right.
stakeholders who are involved in this project. So we have Aspen Valley Hospital is involved. We have not only Aspen Police Department, but we have Pitkin County Sheriff's Office and Snowmass Village Police Department. Obviously, Mine Springs Health. The city is involved. And these groups have been coming together for the last, pretty steadily for the last 6 months to engage in a planning process for this, because there are so many moving parts when you're bringing two highly sort of regulated community services, policing and mental health services together on one scene with a common goal. And so it has been really inspiring to see the level of investment that we have from all of the partners in the community. I mean, this is a huge project, and people have shown up with a lot of passion, a lot of dedication. We have some very smart people in this community with great ideas, so it's been a real honor to get to witness that. And I feel like it's important for our viewers in our community to know that there are some people working really hard right now to put this together and make it a success.
Yeah.
So.
And so at this stage, you're still in planning, but getting close to getting the program launched. What's that process right now? And I might say it's such a great collaboration, because you all are Pitkin County, you're the police, and you're Mine Springs. So this project in public health contracts with mental health, right, for the service. So that's like a direct link. And are you almost ready to go? And what's happening? What's happening with that? What can the community expect, like in the next piece of time for the PACT
Can
program?
speak to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are looking to, right now we're doing sort of a soft launch, if
Okay.
you will.
Okay.
We are, again, there are a lot of moving parts to the system that we're building together. So we've been piloting different models and ideas and figuring out what works and what doesn't. We've got some really great, just great stuff to move forward with and to build on. We're hoping to be fully launched in early 2019. And in the meantime, we're going to still keep moving forward with our piloting. We have a case manager and a peer specialist right now that are hired and a part of our team. And we're still looking for a clinician to join in.
So the clinician, is that the person that actually would go out on the call with a police officer and maybe sit with the police, during the day or during the shift before, and then when a call comes in, go together? Okay, very good.
And the idea is that
So-
the mental health, the clinician, the case manager, and the peer
And the peer
specialist who's
specialist.
been through, who's lived through, and is recovering from some of the experiences that
Right.
the people that we're hoping to help have been through, that they'll be pretty fully embedded in law enforcement. So their offices
All
will
three,
be.
I gotcha, okay.
Their offices
Yeah.
will be in Aspen Police Department, and
police
Pitkin
department.
County Sheriff's Office,
Yeah.
and Snowmass Village Police Department, and they'll be interacting on a daily basis with officers and deputies, and
They'll be mobile.
They'll be mobile, and so,
Yeah.
and it's interesting, so that actually means that when you didn't have this resource before, you might have just had to charge and take a person to jail. But is it true that with this, you may not have to take that step?
Yeah,
at the
I mean,
time
it's-
of the contact?
It's definitely going to give us more options.
Wow.
And that's really what we're looking for, to try to keep people out of our jail and
Yes.
detox in the hospital, and
It's different, really good
yeah.
for the community.
very different approach.
Now, so Lindsay, from your perspective in mental health, you are running the community mental health clinic. How does this resonate with you, and what have you been seeing in mental health in the community? What changes have you been living through? Can
Yeah.
you describe some of that?
Sure. So I've been here now maybe a year and a half. And just in this short amount of time that I've been here, I've seen so much change happen in terms of community mental health. When I first came here, I had clinicians working out of the office, kind of a sterile environment where people are coming in through the office, getting therapy that way. We were embedded a little bit in the jail. We were going, not much, not enough. We had a little bit of school interfacing, but really in the last year, through the continuum and through some of the county initiatives that Jordana was talking about,
Right.
we have been able to secure mental health providers in embedding them into the community. So we have a full-time therapist or mental health provider in the Aspen School District. We have someone in the jail. We have someone, we are in partnership with Mountain Family Health Center, so we have behavioral health advocates and therapists working out of primary care providers' offices, the hospital, and the community. So I have a therapist who goes into people's homes and does family-based therapy. So there's been a huge shift from
Right.
where I first came. It was a very busy office to now being an office where there's not as many people in the office now. Now everybody's in the community.
They're out.
Yeah. So this project is really really important, because what we've seen in the last year by being embedded more in the community is we're understanding the barriers that get in the way of people being stable and being
barriers.
mentally healthy.
Yeah.
So as those things start to come up, that case management component is so important. And we're seeing that those are really the things that we have to support people through. So I'll just give you an example of that. So somebody who may be a seasonal worker comes to Pitkin County, and in
Like
the
a lifty, maybe in winter,
Sure, a
or
lifty. Yeah.
restaurant
A lifty,
worker
or
in summer.
maybe somebody working for the ski company or a shop in town or something, where
right,
it really is a
right.
winter. It's a winter position.
Okay.
And they approach the off season, or that April May
Right.
season where we're between. It's the, what do we call that here? The shoulder season.
Shoulder
right?
season
Yeah.
without the high
Yeah.
visitor turnout
Right,
and that
exactly.
kind of thing.
Where there's not as many jobs.
Right.
People lose their employee housing.
Right.
And they start facing some barriers that make them feel really stressed, maybe anxious, and in our world we call that their mental health may start decompensating. So that's really, there's some really important moments there where if we can get in and support, then we can prevent law enforcement, or we can prevent them going to jail, or we can prevent, so we get them the support and get them connected to resources in a different way.
Right.
What we think is so special about this co-responder program is that it's going to give us the opportunity to get upstream from some of the things. So oftentimes when we're coming into contact with a person, they're very distressed, and in a place where they're struggling.
They can hardly sit still with you
Yeah,
pretty much
exactly,
and talk about
exactly.
it.
Yeah, and it might even be to the point where they want to hurt themselves, or they want to hurt someone else. And if we're getting there at that point, it almost feels like it's gotten too far.
Too late.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels too late. So with co-responder, if you think about how that kind of escalates and how a person may be coming into contact with law enforcement, they're at the bar, they walk outside, and they get the trespassing charge. Or they get caught for trespassing. There's a law enforcement officer there. And maybe during the season they're not struggling that way. It's the shoulder season, and they are trying to manage manage their lives the best way they know, and and then they have a run-in. And what I've seen in the last year, which is not great, is that run-in ends up in jail.
Right, and then that's a whole, that can snowball into other things, can't
Absolutely.
it?
So then we would
Yeah.
get looped in through jail, because I have a therapist in jail now, but it does feel like we got too far.
one step
it's too
removed,
late.
kind
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we can get there in that first contact
First minute.
and be able and to have someone there who's not in a uniform, no offense, but who kind of shows up as a person who can hear this story and understand what's
exactly.
happening.
Yeah.
And then really go in on that case management to see whatever those barriers are that are getting into the way of that person being well, that we attend to them. So we hook them up with economic assistance, or we get them, or we work with them to apply for jobs, shoulder season jobs, whatever those are.
Right, whatever, or at least
Or
benefits
if there's not,
that can help
or
them.
housing, or whatever it
Yeah.
is that we can help facilitate some support and connection in that way, and then hopefully work with them to prevent it from happening in the future.
And I can see that the benefit is they get to skip then that whole piece of kind of being with the man and sort of having to go
System.
to that formal, system, which can feel that can even escalate someone's stress so much more, because they can think, I'm not a bad person. I don't belong here. And then that just can make the mental health issues so much worse. So you're cutting that off with this gentler approach to wellness, if you will.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's the idea.
That's exciting.
we're really excited.
And
about
I'm
it.
looking at the clock. I know that Jordana and Andy have to run along pretty soon, just in their day today interviewing. So when you're ready, just feel free to, thank you so much for coming in and sharing what it is that this means to you and what you all are doing in the community. Really
Thanks so
means a
much.
lot, yeah. So, feel free to take off. So, yes, and we're coming soon to the end of our talk, but anything else? This has really been informative, and I think it's a really important step for us. Do you see that eventually the region could benefit? I know this is a grant that Pitkin was very successful in getting, and I know it was a tough application, very, very lengthy and defined. But what do you think about that? Because Jordana was talking about, the how we like to look at the region, and we have so much cross between the counties. Just normally, people live in other counties and work here, et cetera. What do you guys think? You just hope, basically,
I
if
think
this
certainly
works?
it's a goal, and,
Yeah.
and it certainly is catching on across
Yes.
the nation, really.
Not just Colorado.
As a model for, and a lot of the changes that have been happening within just the law enforcement realm, where they're like, wait a minute, we need to be more educated, more trained around some of what might be driving some of these criminal behaviors, right?
yes,
So you have
yes.
things like most law enforcement agencies now have crisis intervention training, which is a very intensive
right.
5-day training
Right.
where they learn quite a bit about how to identify when something else is going on.
And that's relatively new. They didn't used to have that all
Right,
the time,
but it
did
is
they?
becoming the gold standard,
Right.
sort of. And, Aspen Police, almost all of our partners, law enforcement partners for this program, are trained in crisis intervention. So that's a really great plus for our community, because they're already, even before this program is implemented, able to identify more than the culture was before.
I think that regionally too, though this is in Pitkin County, it's going to help us regionally because people commute to Pitkin County for work.
Yes, they
People
do.
get in trouble in Pitkin County.
After work.
That's right. That's right. So though
That's
it's really
right.
meant for Pitkin County, we're serving residents all the way down the valley.
That's true. The persons that you contact together with law enforcement, they're not necessarily residents of the county.
That's right.
I mean, you're going to serve them
That's
just
right.
the same.
Yep.
So you're right about that. It's really a false distinction in some ways. Yeah.
Yeah, and if we do, I think if we do this well, that there's going to be more opportunity for us to, I mean, Eagle County certainly, and Garfield to have opportunity for this type of grant.
Well, that's just amazing.
Yep.
Really wonderful. Anything else you two would like to share, Lindsay or Jess? Just in parting comments.
We're hiring.
Oh, that's very important parting comment. Yes.
That's important.
For this vital final role, the clinician.
Yeah, so we have a co-responder clinician. It's a really exciting opportunity. You're riding around with law enforcement agencies.
In their car, maybe
in their
even?
car,
Yeah.
yeah. Doing assessment up front at that point of contact. So it's really exciting in that way. It's a fast-moving job. And the partnership component is really, it's pretty excellent. So I couldn't leave here without putting a plug.
Oh, you have to put a plug. That's
In for that.
super important
Yep.
because, I know this show will air soon, but it might air, later after this date in December. But so who are you looking for specifically? What kind of background, and should they call you, and what's your number?
Yeah, what's my number?
No, seriously.
Yeah, so it is a clinician position, and to be a clinician at Mind Springs, you have to be master's level.
Okay,
You
master's.
don't necessarily need to have a license. You should be working towards getting a license, and we
Okay.
provide all the support and supervision towards that.
But you have some training. You are a master's level. You've
Yep, master's level.
you're in mental health.
Yeah, it's full-time. We have also considered doing 2 part-time if that's more viable for this community, then we can do that. And to apply for that position, you go to mindspringshealth.org
Okay.
and go to the
Mindspringshealth.org.
employment opportunities and
It's right there.
scroll through to Aspen. To the
That's the
Aspen
easiest way.
opportunities. Yep,
Yeah.
that's the way to do it. I have to get the
Awesome.
application to be able to process it.
Well, I really wish you luck with that. I
Thank
hope
you.
that someone really great comes forward very quickly and you'll be able to launch. And thank you both again.
Thanks,
it's really
Lindsay.
wonderful to hear about the
Yeah.
PACT program. Pitkin area
Area
co-responder
co-responder
teams. That's it. Okay, that's a
PACT.
wrap for us. Thank you so much for listening. We'll sign off. Until the next time, we have a County Connection show.